Do it. So you're in Copenhagen right now.
I am in Copenhagen right now. I just moved here about 6 months ago. Um, yeah, I have a job that was based here. I work for a speaker company that makes like industrial grade Bluetooth speakers, I think is the best way of describing them. And I worked for them in LA for a while when I was living there, and they offered to move me here, and I said, yeah, that would be amazing.
Wow. I mean, what a transition though, huh?
Yeah, it's wild. I got to visit before I came when I was
I sure
living.
hope so. Just not going into it blind. That'd be insane.
That would be insane. People, I think, would do it. It's like, it's a city that's got a reputation of being like amazing and kind of they call it the Europe of Europe. It's it's an amazing place, and it's everybody's like happy and healthcare is free, and there's kind of a community feel to the whole city, which is cool. So people do move here like blind because that reputation is so damn good. But thankfully, I had time here before. That
I
was
mean, that's good. Is it living up to the hype?
It is in a lot of ways. Well, you can't really tell from where we are right now, but it's like 8:30 here p.m. and the sun has been down since like 4:30 p.m. So wintertime, you have like almost no daylight. Like the sun comes up at like 9 a.m. and goes down at 4. So other than that, it lives up. It's a really cool place, really cool people, and a good vibe.
Man, I mean, that's just such a leap. It seems like you're like, yeah, I mean, fuck it. I'm living in LA, but I'll just move. Are you a movie character, dude? Like, what the fuck is going on there, man?
That's why I said yes. I was like, this is never gonna happen again. I'm a copywriter. It's not like I do anything like crazy specialized, but yeah, it's a crazy opportunity. I'm sometimes still pinching myself like that. I'm here. I'm here with my wife as well, and our cat. They both moved with me
From LA.
from LA. Yeah.
Oh boy. All right. Yeah. I mean, the wife, I understand, but the cat, I mean, that's just new. That's a whole new train.
It's a whole new
Snow and
trend. Well,
whatnot.
he's been with us for 10 years. So he's a loyal companion. My wife and I are both from Atlanta. Um, and that's where we had him. And so he's been from Atlanta to LA, now to Copenhagen. He's a very well-traveled cat.
A natural trajectory, of course, for a cat.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
That's normality there.
Yeah.
Is this a permanent residence? Do you think you're gonna be just retiring there?
Yeah, it would be a great place to retire. I've got a contract here for 2 years, and so we'll see kind of where that takes us. I definitely miss LA and a lot of aspects of living in a very sunny place. But especially the music, man. I mean, I think there's some cool stuff to tap into here, but obviously there's no place like LA when it comes to music.
Sure, right. But I mean, overall, you're enjoying your time so far there.
I'm loving it, man. It's a very relaxed feel, just overall really cool, laid back city.
That's awesome, man. I mean, that would suck if you're like, oh,
It's
this is
hectic and
trash.
terrible. I mean, I think they have to like because it's so cold and it gets so dark. Like I think everything else has to be awesome, or no one would live here.
Right. It
So
would just
like,
fucking suck.
they've kind of notched it up. So like the people are really cool, and like you deal with it was like the most festive Christmas I've ever experienced. Like everyone really gets into Christmas here for
That's
for
good.
a country of atheist Vikings. It's impressive.
Yeah, that's what they don't discuss. I mean, like I've heard like dietary stuff of Vikings, what they pillaged and conquered, but Christmas oriented, really, really strong on that.
They saw Santa and they were like, that guy,
That's the fucking guy.
the original pillager. You know,
If you think about it, yeah.
you think about it, he's breaking and entering quite a bit.
So you're originally from Atlanta, though. That's where your roots are.
That's where my roots are. And yeah, man, I haven't been back in a minute. COVID, all that stuff. But
Oh, the what?
COVID and all that,
Oh, oh, I don't know. It doesn't. COVID. All right.
okay, so
Sounds
virus.
sounds like it's not a big deal. I don't think it's gonna. I mean, if it does occur, like maybe like what 2 weeks or something like that, and they'll just swing.
Zero societal implications,
No.
probably.
Okay. That's yeah. I'm not worried about it. Anyways. All right.
But yeah, Atlanta's where I was born and raised, and spent some very good years there. And yeah, nothing but great things to say about that place. I really love Atlanta, but
Good deal.
LA was calling in a lot of ways. Had to check it out.
All
So
right. I understand. I get that.
yeah.
What kind of bands were playing around Atlanta when you were? I mean, because how much time did you spend there? I mean, a good chunk of years, I'm assuming, right?
So I mean, when I was growing up, I was in high school, like, going to shows like 2008, 2009, and through the college years, also seeing some great, I mean, Deer Hunter, Black Lips were kind of the big dudes. Like when I was going to house shows and art gallery shows, they were the heavy hitters, and really killing it. There's this really great band called Balkans that was also around back then.
Yeah, I just saw this thing on Instagram that somebody's making a documentary about them.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. Because like the guitar player whose name is Frankie, he played in Deer Hunter for a hot second, and then he was also in this really great band called Omni, which was also just is an amazing local band, Atlanta guys. But yeah, I mean, the lineage of like badass like indie rock in Atlanta is deep. Like I was very stoked to be there. And then when I was playing there, I was seeing those guys, but I was playing in some really cool like improvisational circles. There's a jam session that this guy, my friend Kevin, used to run, and some pretty heavy hitters, like, I don't know, like Kamasi Washington stopped by at a certain point, and there was just a really great horn section that played there like every week. It was like every Tuesday. Really badass, open, free jazz improvisational stuff. And I was lucky enough to join the house band at some point because Kevin became a friend, and that was an amazing scene for a while as well, and something kind of unexpected from Atlanta, I think, like improvisational free jazz. But it still is very, very strong. I think Elliott Street was a great spot. There's a spot called iDrum where like Deer Hunter used to play all the time. But they also have like open jams and stuff. There's Gallery 992 that just opened. That's kind of carrying the torch there. But yeah, that was what I was involved in, and playing a lot and with guys like that. And also a band called Lightning Orchestra. It's like Afrobeat kind of big stuff. I played guitar with them for quite a bit.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so a lot going on, man. There's so much talent in Atlanta. It's ridiculous, but it's also super laid back, and like no one's trying to cut throats or like step on anyone. It's a very like cool community of really talented people.
Yeah, so it's not Copenhagen, you know.
Not
Especially
Copenhagen,
cutthroat.
the Viking cutthroat stuff.
I
No.
mean, you gotta live up to the reputation, though.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
where did your interest in music stem from? Were you exposed to it as a kid, or were your parents musicians?
My dad was like a classic, 70s high school rock and roll cover band guy. He played guitar, but nothing like around the house really, except for a guitar that like hung on the wall, and I was just kind of drawn to it and started playing it, and played an electric guitar with no amp for a solid year or so, and then built myself up a little bit, bought an amp, bought a new guitar, got some stuff for birthdays, and just the interest grew. And in college I was playing at like frat parties and stuff, and yeah, just always has been a part of my life, and just out of, I think, interest. And I started writing songs and recording stuff probably when I was like 18 or so. Actually, it can be pointed at a very specific time when I got in a bit of trouble with the law for controlled substance known as marijuana.
Oh, all
And
right. Okay. All right. We gotta edit that out.
shut it down.
Right. Not on
But
this podcast, bud.
in 2009 in the South, it was
Right.
not as cool as it is now. Like
Not as relaxed.
it's not as relaxed, and so yeah, I got off pretty easy as far as the law was concerned because I was 17, but and white, truth, but
Yeah. I mean that. Yeah. I guess I'd
yeah.
factor into it. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially in the South. But I think my parents were not enthused. And what they did was they grounded me quite severely from the time that I got caught to when I graduated from high school, which was like 7 months.
I wonder what
So
the problem
7
was. I don't
months.
really understand.
You should have been cool with it, right?
Yeah. I mean, your dad's a classic 70s dude. He gets it. He's been there.
He was like, my friends did it. I never touched the stuff.
I had a few buddies.
Yeah, I had a few buddies but they're all dead now. But yeah, I was like grounded severely for like 7 months and had to come straight home after school. And I literally got so bored that I was like, I got to teach myself how to do something. I taught myself how to record myself with playing music, and would bang out some songs on drums and play guitar and bass over them. And at a certain point just started like, yeah, writing my own stuff and getting more and more into that. And I was definitely like the annoying kid who like made a bunch of songs and like passed out CDs at school. But something really cool, like, cool shit comes out of that when you put yourself out there. And there was a girl at my school whose dad was like a producer, super, actually big time producer. His name is Brendan O'Brien. Did like Pearl Jam, Rage Against the Machine, Bruce Springsteen. He's like massive dude. And he was just like stoked that I had like bootlegged some recording stuff off of my like school laptop in GarageBand, and he invited me to come to his studio. I recorded there. It was life-changing, it was super cool. And from then on I was hooked on stuff, and I started opening
and on
for
marijuana too. Yeah, I know that you were
oh yeah, debilitating addiction on marijuana.
Chronic abuser.
Mm-hmm. And sativa as well. But yeah, man, and it, yeah, like I said, it's just always been a constant in my life, music, I think, and hopefully remains to be the rest of my life.
It seems like you're on a pretty good trajectory, I'd say.
Yeah, man, it's become more and more incorporated, I think, into the day-to-day, that's all you can ask for.
That's great. If you hadn't been grounded for 7 months, right?
7 months.
I wanted to get the months correct. 7 months there. I mean, like, would you have eventually fell into it just organically, or was that
I
needed?
like to think so. I don't know. I think if it's meant to happen there, it'll give you a few more opportunities. Life will give you a few more opportunities to nail it. I don't think it's ever a one and done thing. But yeah, I mean, that the time that it happened was super important, because then when I graduated, I was free, from the shackles of being grounded. And all my friends that played music, I was like, look what I learned. And we started recording music with my friends. And actually to this day, dude Glenn that I play in Triptides with, he was the first person that we like sat down and like recorded a record together, like, and it all stemmed from that incubation period right at the right time. So yeah, in a way it kind of all did work out nicely and still like plays a role in where I am today.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Pretty weird.
I know that you play guitar and bass on stage, at least live. What are you most comfortable behind? Is it the guitar?
I think guitar, just because that was my first like real thing that I dug into when I was like 12 or 13 or so. But as of late, I think really I pick up a bass more often than I pick up a guitar, and that comes from like playing live and seeing. But it also, like, when you write guitar songs and stuff, it has a certain vibe. Now starting to write songs with bass, it has another vibe that I really appreciate, and really I gained a lot of respect for bass in Atlanta with a couple of friends of mine, Kevin, who had the jam, and then another guy, Evan, who is an amazing bass player that we still write together and stuff. Like, everything I do is like an approximation of what those guys do. But I have a tremendous respect for that instrument, and like the more I play it, the more I dig bass. So I think now like bass has become something that I feel comfortable with, and that's really awesome.
It is really awesome. That really is. How many bands are you currently in as of right now?
So now I'm playing in Triptides, and that's kind of the most recurring band, as far as like we just record a ton of stuff together. Over 2020, we recorded like 3, 4, 5 albums worth of.
Oh, so you didn't do
of stuff.
anything? You did absolutely nothing at the
Nothing.
time.
I mean, for us, it was nothing. And then I tour with them still. I fly in from Copenhagen, which is a very cool, privileged thing to be able to do. But then I also play with this band called Cosmo Gold. We've got one EP that we put out a couple of years ago, and we've been compiling kind of. We've had some ups and downs and changes in lineup and stuff, but the core group has been writing, and we recorded a full record before I moved here. We finished that up, and I'm hoping that develops into some stuff as well. I think that's going to be really cool and totally different than Triptides as well. Totally different vibe. And then I have my own stuff, which is I call it Little Rituals, Little Richards. Some people like to call it, but
Oh, they're good. Yeah.
yeah, both are equally valid. And that's just kind of an anything catch-all. Whatever songs don't make it in to Triptides or Cosmo kind of go in this other bin of Little Rituals, and that's like anything from cool, like cheesy rock and roll stuff that I want to do that no one else wants to do, or like I did a record about my cat, like not about him, for him. I made a record for my cat. It's an important distinction.
Yeah. Yeah. I was a
And
bit confused.
surprisingly, Triptides didn't want to record that, so
I don't know why.
I
It's
did
gold.
it. But yeah, man. So those are the 3 kind of like chief projects in life, and then I work with like all my friends as much as I possibly can. I think it's like the more stuff you can do, the better you're going to be at everything.
It's awesome. Yeah, definitely. Is it good for you to have your hands in multiple projects at the same time?
I think so. I think it's it's healthy to an extent. I know some people who are in like 7 bands, and I'm like, how do you even focus on it? But it's really cool to have a few lanes that you can move in and out of, and a few moods that you can satisfy. I think with Triptides, it's very much like vintage psychedelic kind of vibe. There's like a lot of classic sounds that we try to get, and the fun of writing for that band, and writing with that band, and performing with them is like trying to capture these tones and these kind of moods and feelings of, we start out with a lot of inspiration of like, what if, Bob Dylan was playing with Brian Eno, like what would that sound like? And we really can, like, we start in like funny, like derivative places like that, and go for certain vibes like that. Whereas with like Cosmo, it's like we just go with like what we think is going to be like fun and like dancey, and whatever weird idea hits us. And then with Little Rituals, it's like, yeah, whatever else doesn't make it. So I think it's nice to be able to shift from one thing to another, because you're never in like one mood as a songwriter, and it works to have a lot of labels to put things under,
to pinpoint. So it's not, I mean, it's under the umbrella of I'm creating music, but there's certain segments of this goes here, and this goes here kind of thing.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's rarely how I start, but it's like when I have a demo, or even a voice memo of an idea, when I'm messing around, like I can hear it and be like, oh, I could hear us recording this for Triptides, or I could hear us recording this for Cosmo, or knowing that it's not right for either one of those, maybe I should just do it on my own. I think it's kind of a gut feeling kind of thing.
Right. Is your writing process the same for each? I mean, relatively. I mean, there's different avenues, of course, within this, but relatively the same kind of basis that you start on.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've got my perspective. I think it changes because of the people in the room. We write different with Cosmo, because Emily and Mike and I like write in a certain way together, and I know they're going to contribute certain things and I can counterbalance that or whatever. Whereas with Triptides, I know that Brendan and Glenn are going to contribute certain things, and I can do things to counterbalance that. I think it's always me, I can only contribute what I can contribute, but it's like, it changes because of the people in the room, and what does a song sound like, and what is it at the end, how do you determine that something's a song? Like that's going to change depending on the perspectives in the room.
Right, sure. Could anything take the place of music in your life? Could some other interest or hobby of some sort fill
I
that
think at
gap?
this point, I'm not good enough at anything else to have it fill that gap. For me, it's like, I've dedicated my creative mind as much as I can to music and development, and it's kind of at this point like a compulsion. It's like I don't even think about sitting down and like picking up a bass and like playing it, and from that like songs come, and from that you want to record. And it's something where like I would really have to think about not playing music in order to focus on something else. That's kind of been my I want to learn art, and learn more how to draw, or how to animate, or do something, in a more visual vein that intrigues me. I love visual art, and I really respect designers, but I just can't focus on anything other than music.
In another life, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
Do you have any other hobbies, or I mean, you have these interests, but do you have any other hobbies? Like, okay, I'm gonna step away from music, I'm gonna do something else. What is there anything like that in your life?
I like to take photographs. My wife got me. She takes a lot of pictures, and a lot of has a lot of cool old cameras, and really through her I've been able to like mess around with those cool old cameras. And she just got me this really cool old Pentax like point and shoot for Christmas, and I've been having a lot of fun with that. I think that if I could say that I'm getting into photography, I would say that I'm getting into photography. I feel like I'm doing it not as much justice as it deserves, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I think I just got my first roll of film back, and I'm pretty stoked on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, you are into it. I'm gonna say it
I'm
for you.
into it. I
Yeah.
would say I'll declare myself into it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's. I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but all right. I mean, it's a pretty brave thing to say. I
Write
don't
it
know.
down,
I don't know, Steven. I don't
I'm
know, man.
feeling brave.
I mean, outside of photography and in art, though, I mean, there's only so much you can do with your creativeness. I mean, like, I mean, if you harness in on something, it's like, do you feel like you're taking pieces out to lend to something else that you could be using towards music? Do you think like that could be an issue? If that
No,
makes
I
any
don't
sense.
think so. Yeah, no, it does make sense. I mean, honestly, I get that kind of question from other musicians about just my job, like working a full-time job, which to a degree is a creative job. You know, I'm a writer and a copywriter. I work with design and do a lot of like creative endeavors. You know, I think it's a job, but it's very much I get to exercise like my writing kind of mind and yeah, I think I get that question of like, are you dividing your brain a little too much of like, because you know, you can focus on your job a little too much. Everybody tends to do that if they're wrapped up in like perfectionism as I tend to be. But I think no, I think it's good for people to have like again like separate lanes, like separate things to exercise because you're not I mean, you are the same person from day to day, but you have different dimensions of your mind that like it's good to exercise and like have cycles of like I'm in my mode where I'm focusing on writing right now. I'm in my mode where I'm focusing on like becoming a better bass player, becoming a better keyboard player. I'm always trying to become a better drummer. So like I mean, those are all music related, but still I think it's like exercising different parts of your mind is super important and I think people make I won't say people make boring music if they only focus on music but like you know it's nice always to feel an artist bringing in other pieces of their life and being open about other pieces of their life through their music so I think those new dimensions make your music stronger as well.
Right, right. What band or artist has had the most impact on you, like, or at least a couple that are like really like these are the key people that I listened to and it really inspired me?
Hmm. Man, that list is like so long. It's crazy.
There's no wrong answers, if that helps.
No wrong answers. Okay. I'll say the number one like influence on me as far as like songwriting was definitely Bob Dylan. I mean, like that hit me at a formative time. I
Sorry,
will.
Steven, that is a wrong answer.
That's the wrong it. The
Yeah, that's the wrong
one
one.
wrong answer.
Yeah, the one wrong.
That's fair. That's fair. That is a
Out of
that's a
everyone, you picked the
it's
wrong answer.
lazy. It's a lazy answer, really. Oh, Bob Dylan's your songwriting influence? How original. Yeah.
Oh well, why? What speaks to you about it? No, but I mean, obviously, he is for a reason, you know.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But I think, yeah, he hit me at a really formative time when I was like 13 or 14 years old. Like I heard Bob Dylan, like really like freewheeling Bob Dylan, just a guitar and a voice kind of thing. And I was like, holy shit, like this is, I was very much into like rock and roll as like a kid, like AC/DC, Zeppelin, like, and so any of the singer songwriter stuff, I was like very averse to that. I was like, this isn't like real music. It needs drums and bass. And I heard that record and I was like, oh, I'm very wrong.
You're like, this could use a harmonica, and
Yeah.
then
And then it was the
you're like, all
loudest thing
right,
in the mix, like immediately.
perfect.
Yeah.
Like this guy knows. This guy knows what he
This guy
needs.
gets it.
I don't have to
And
tell him.
then I think the other major one on the other end of you know the songwriting spectrum is Miles Davis. Again, like he really hit me at a formative time, and like my dad listened to a lot of Miles Davis as a kid, and some of those melodies, like horn lines, are just like they're in my head. They're just burned in my brain from when I was a kid and
For
listening
good
to them.
reason. I mean,
Yeah, they're gorgeous. And I think his whole conception of melody and just this idea, he's said, I'm going to paraphrase and butcher it probably, but basically the idea is like there's a melody always happening around you, and in his words, that he could hear it all the time, and there was this melody continually happening, and when he put his lips to trumpet, he was just channeling that melody that's always happening. And for some reason that, like, really, when I heard that, I was like, yeah, I feel that. I don't feel like I'm making up melodies. I feel like I'm a conduit for them more than they're coming out of my brain, because I don't have theory and all of that. I can't be like, oh, I'm doing this because of that. It feels right. And he illuminated that, and was also like, he made me feel better about my own insecurities as a player, because I think what Miles Davis didn't have was like crazy chops. Like, he didn't have like speed. He had people in his band who did that, like Coltrane and Sonny Rollins, and like those guys could really, really hammer and do the heavy bebop thing really, really well. But what he had was like a nice pace and a beautiful melody. Every note was chosen really nicely. And I was always insecure about my guitar playing. Like, I'm not a shredder. I can't do it. My hands don't move that fast. There's just something about it. But he put the emphasis on melody and on like really choosing the right notes and really sticking with the most interesting notes above speed. And he's considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest, trumpet player of all time, and a lot of people's minds. And he changed the game because he focused on melody and pace and not on speed. And I was like, okay, you can be groundbreaking and not be barrier breaking, like with your shredding.
Right. Do you have a favorite album of his?
I mean, not to be super cliche, but Kind of Blue, I think is just kind of is a mind-blowing record.
Haven't heard that one, but I'll check it out.
It's obscure. Only the coolest kids know about it.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, there we go. That's why I'm not privy to it.
Exactly.
No, I mean that
If we
album.
want to do if we want to do like an obscure Miles, like On the Corner is really great. Water Babies is also like B-sides. Wayne Shorter did a lot of the arrangements on Water Babies and On the Corner, and he's like the man. He's one of the best arrangers of all time. So those are some deeper ones if anyone cares to listen.
Awesome. Yeah, it's so funny. Miles Davis is much like how and I had mentioned this on another podcast. That's why I mention it now. Like the Kinks. It's like every time I just find more new stuff and I get hooked on that stuff, which is like fantastic to have. You got to have those people say, "Oh, I didn't know that this was them," or whatever.
Right. Oh yeah, man.
It's always really special.
I mean, I think that's those two examples are both stark examples of like people who like over time have had different lanes, like, focused on different crazy things. I mean, if you listen to On the Corner or Water Babies or whatever, that's like funk. It's like heavier funk. Like, I think Herbie Hancock was in that band. It's totally in another world from Kind of Blue. It's just a whole other planet, really. And yeah, I think the Kinks as well. I mean, I think you have your classic Kinks and You Really Got Me and all that stuff, and you have like Muswell Hillbillies, which is like another kind of country, like laid back vibe when they were recording themselves. And obviously they went into the 80s and they got super weird in the 80s.
See, again, I don't even know, but I'm willing to find out. I think it was I guess Lucas Fitzsimmons, and he mentioned another King song much, or I was that an album, by the way, that you just mentioned?
Muswell Hillbillies.
See,
yeah.
You mentioned a song. I went back. I was like, this is a great fucking song. So I'm gonna listen to that, and it's just gonna keep on opening up. So like, that's what I love about those artists. I mean,
Oh yeah.
there's probably some more that I don't even know about yet. which is,
Yeah.
it's always so cool to find something else that you're like, oh, where has this been?
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing to, I think that's why I could never focus on anything other than music, playing music and consuming music. Cause like, man, there's so many records out there. There's
Right.
just so much good stuff. You could just go forever.
Right. There's a lot of bad stuff too, but you gotta sift through that to
Gotta
find.
sit through it. And the bad stuff even has its merits sometimes.
Sometimes it's that's circumstantial though. That's not, it's the exception, not the rule.
Yes, yes.
Has there been what is the most recent artist or band that you've recently discovered? You're like, where has this been? If you could pinpoint that.
Um, hmm. There, I mean, I think new bands that just really, actually, one in particular that really felt like it had been missing from my life for forever, but it had just come out, was this band Dry Cleaning. Do you know them?
Dry cleaning? No.
Dry Cleaning, they have this record, New Long Leg. It's really, really good. But it's like, I really am a big fan of like post-punk stuff. I really, I love like Gang of Four, and I love like that kind of like South London, like post-punk is like a really specific thing that I dig. And then I also really enjoy like some spoken word stuff over instrumentals. Like I enjoy that kind of dichotomy a lot of the time. And this is like, yeah, a South London band doing like post-punk with like spoken word over it. And I heard it for the first time and I was like, where has this been all my life? It's something that I put on just all the time. And other than I think my wife and maybe one or two other people, like no one is like as tickled by it as I am. But I'm just like, no one could hate this. It's the best.
Right.
But it's really, really cool. And just like badass, like musicianship and all around, it's a full package. It's surprising that it's their first record because it's such a like honed in sound, which is
That's
really
great.
cool.
That's fantastic. Would you be able to I mean, maybe not exact, maybe this is not the exact album or what have you, of it, but an album nonetheless that you've listened to just countless times, just through and through?
That's my favorite way to consume records. I wear them out, like I would like to death. There's some records that I listen to just so many times. I think this one, I don't know if you can see it in the background, but there's a Brazilian musician. He's like the god of Brazilian music. His name is Antonio Jobim.
Yes, he has like Wave. That was one
I was
of them,
gonna
right?
say that this is the record. It's right here.
All right, with the giraffe on it, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a great album. Oh yeah, fantastic.
So that record is one where, like, again, like it's something that I put on because in my mind, like no one could dislike that record.
No,
And
it's yeah, fantastic.
it's perfect, and even has a Miles Davis tie-in. Ron Carter, guy who played bass with Miles Davis for a long time, plays on this record.
Awesome.
And yeah, it is like back to front, like the perfect record for pretty much any any scenario. I think
It has to be played in that order, back to front, just so everybody knows.
back to front, you got to put it on. This is why the vinyl is, that's my favorite medium, because
crucial.
It's you're forced. Skipping songs is not a good experience. So it's nice to have. That's my criteria, I think, for my record collection now, is like I have to be able to put this on and just leave it on. Like I can't skip any songs or anything. Can't get a record for a single anymore.
That's like 45s were invented, I guess.
That's true.
Maybe.
That's true. They did the work.
Or a single. Did you ever have one of those?
I did. I told you I lived through the indie times of 2009 to 2013. I think that was
Yeah, that's
single years.
I still love cassettes. They're just
I
fantastic.
do too, man. I think anything that's like tactile is nice. Like anything that you can like give to somebody. Because I mean, somebody even told me that like they have cassettes at their merch table because they're like, business cards. They're like, expensive business cards that someone buys you. It's not really like, because a lot of people who buy them don't even have cassette tape players, which I thought was kind of funny when I first realized that or heard that. But they're like collectibles. They're
Still cool
tactile.
though. Yeah.
It's something cool to like to hold on to. And I know like I made some cassettes back in the day, and cool that I would make them on. I made them on like old Tascam, like 4 tracks and stuff. And then so cassette was like that was the medium from the beginning to the end, which was I always thought that was super cool too.
Yeah, really, really cool. I've been lucky enough to both of my cars have had cassette players in them. But I'm gonna be shit out of luck when
Next,
when I get hopefully I'll just keep on just getting cars that have cassette players because I just have so many. And it's like, oh well, like, yeah, I have a cassette player in my house, but it's not, you know how it is. It's not the same when you're
you're not
driving
putting
and
a
you're
cassette on. Yeah, in the car, I had a 96 Camry from when I was 16 to when I moved to LA. And that thing had a cassette player in it. And I used to go to Goodwill and get like really cheap cassettes, like
right.
because that was how I listened to music in my car. I had a big like plastic case full of
Oh, sure.
cassettes.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it was, I won't say it was good times, but it was times.
Yeah, I still love the cassette, and I hope I still have a car in 10 years but we'll see. Well, I don't know. Maybe.
See, they could come back, man. They could come back
Yeah,
always.
they could. We'll see.
Maybe.
The new Prius with a cassette player in it.
Retro cassette action. Yeah.
What is your thought process before you go out on a big tour? Because I know you guys just recently did a tour. You guys,
Yeah.
meaning Triptides, with Levitation Room.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're about to go out with LA Witch as well.
Both alumni of the podcast. I just had
LA.
Gabriel Fernandez on.
Oh, the best.
Tremendous guy. And Sade Sanchez has been on, and Irita Pai has been on. Just a very, I mean, so that's, I mean, you guys you're doing it with the big times.
In good company, man. Yeah.
Definitely.
I think yeah, it's been, the Levitation Room tour was super fun. Those guys are good friends of ours, and we split like a rehearsal space with them in LA.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah, Glenn has produced I guess a couple of their records as well, and plays keys with them all the time. So yeah, that tour was amazing, man. LA Witch, I don't know them super well personally, but I love their music, and I'm super stoked for this tour as well.
Super nice.
Yeah, to answer your question though, I mean, like, what do I think? I think like, are all my fucking cables working? Yeah. Is there something gonna shit out on me on stage? Yeah, I think it's such I love it. I mean, going on tour is super fun, and especially after the hiatus of stuff, it was amazing coming back, and playing now has a whole new level of gratitude with it, I think. And you feel that like from both sides, like bands are stoked to be on stage and super thankful to be there, and like people are just as excited and grateful to be in the crowd, and that gratitude was like in the room every single night for that Levitation Room tour, and I assume it'll be the same for this. And so I think, man, the mindset is excited and just happy. I mean, you feel right on the road in a lot of ways, or at least we do. We just have a lot of fun, man. I think Triptides as a trio is three dudes that just love playing music together at the end of the day. So like we just get to do that every night and fine tune these songs that we created together. So we just have a ton of fun.
It's awesome. But I mean, overall, you enjoy the the touring
I do,
lifestyle?
I think for a while, we hit some like ceilings at like 3 weeks plus, it's like it becomes like, all right, I could sleep in my own bed maybe a little bit. But I think the redeeming quality is that every night you get to play music and like have fun. And like there's no such thing as a bad show, honestly. Like it's even if there's no one there, or even if equipment messes up or whatever, it's if you let it roll off you and have a good time with it, there's nothing that beats it. It's just playing music with your friends every single night. So I think it's hard to top that.
No, it seems pretty stressful and you don't like it, but that's fine. When do you still feel the same way stepping onto a stage as you did the first time you stepped up there and played a show?
Yeah, strangely, yeah. I think and strangely in a couple of ways, like I think I was really taken aback the first time I did it, like when I was younger, like how comfortable I felt. I was like, oh, I want to do this for the rest of my life. Like that was my thought. Like the first thing, well, after the first song that I played, I remember just like thinking like, oh wow, like this is a new level of enjoying music. Like, and it doesn't change because I think, yeah, I mean the possibility of shit going wrong in a live show or having to respond or change. Like I said, like I mean, you just have to kind of approach it like with that open mind as you had the first time, of like anything could happen, it's probably going to be amazing. But yeah, I think it's kind of the same for me, and I think that's why I keep going back to music and keep going back to playing live, because it really centers me and like brings me feeling like I'm doing the right thing.
I mean, that's all you can ask for, right?
It's cool. I feel very fortunate. Like every time, that's a privilege that I have where I'm like, oh, I'm doing the right thing. Like that's not something I take for granted, because I've definitely had the feeling of I'm doing the wrong thing right now.
I mean, both are essential though at the end of the day.
Agreed. Agreed. Got to learn.
Yeah. How do you deal with being separated from your band members? I mean, in both of your projects.
Yeah, man. I mean, props to them for holding on to me in a lot of ways. Like I think with Triptides, it's like, how many bass players are in LA, could they get to replace me? And same with Cosmo, it's you know so many musicians, so much talent, so much there. So first of all, like I'm always grateful that they held on to me. It's tough, man. It's tough being away from them. I think it is just playing music with your homies. I miss doing that. I've got some friends here that play music, and I've got a cool little rehearsal space that I've been using the last few months. And it's not like I'm not playing music here, but there's definitely the camaraderie of those two bands, because also I've been playing with bands since college. I'm 30 now. I know the criteria of how tough it is to like have a band member that you get along with musically, songwriting wise, and just life wise, so finding people on that same wavelength is tough. And you see why, even though like bands can get to like Oasis levels of hating each other, they like stick it out, because like trying to find a new guitar player or bass player is harder than trying to reconcile whatever bullshit they were going with. So I think, yeah, I miss those guys, all of them, a lot, because we're lucky to have the connections that we have, and we definitely don't take it for granted.
I mean, that's great. And I heard that you kicked out of Little Rituals. Is this true?
That's true.
Fuck, man, that's the one you
That's
couldn't. That's the one you couldn't just hold
couldn't
on
hold
to.
it down. I couldn't hold
Shit,
it down. I'm
that
my biggest critic.
that fucking sucks, dude. I'm sorry to hear that.
Fine. It
It
didn't
was.
make any money anyway. It's totally cool.
Do you bring your wife back out to the States when you're coming over here to tour, and then you come pick her up and then you come out again?
We've discussed that, I think, for one of the next tours for these. She's working and living in Copenhagen and doing her thing here. She's also, yeah, wise enough to not go on tour. Like, she's like, I don't want to do that. I think I think a lot of people that I run into, they're like, tour, that must be cool. I'd love to like tag along, and she knows what it's really like. She's not getting into that. So yeah, I think when she visits the US, it's to do her own thing. And I'm maybe she likes having me out of the house. I don't know.
There's always,
Oh,
pros and cons to everything.
yeah.
Some are unseen. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't ask that question.
Yeah, no, that's a
I
hush
don't need to
hush.
know. I don't
Yeah.
need to know.
That is wild though that you'll fly out for a tour and then come back. I mean, and I mean, you got an awesome wife that will just follow you everywhere. That's great.
Man,
When it's her time though, you better be packing your bags to Australia or whatever.
oh, absolutely, man. I think, thankfully well, be perfectly honest, she was the one that pushed us to go to Copenhagen as well, because even though it was my work that asked me to do it, I was like, no, in the beginning. I was, no, this is too much.
This
I'm
is
moving over
crazy.
there. This is insane. And she was like, are you an idiot? Let's go. We can figure it all out. So she pushed us here, if anything, which is that is an amazing person to be with. Who gets
Absolutely.
you out of your comfort zone for sure.
I mean, that is really good.
Yeah.
And your cat's a trooper too. It's not.
He is. He did the whole plane ride with us, like up in the cabin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. We
Wow.
didn't we didn't like put him, people suggested sedation, but we were like,
Ooh.
he's an old dude, so we didn't really, he's pretty mellow. We just, yeah, kept him alert the whole time, and he was just like chilling. He's like the easiest cat in the world when it comes to traveling, and then every other thing he's like a giant asshole and hates everyone. So he's good at traveling. Everything else, he's
So
not
there's
so.
pros and cons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's for sure. That's for sure. So we have to exploit those pros as much as possible.
It vastly outweighs it. It vastly
Yeah,
outweighs it. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, like he doesn't like you now, but if we're on a plane together,
He
best guy,
loved it. He
best
loved
passenger. At the end of the day, what motivates you to continue to make music?
I think, weirdly enough, like the desire to build like a body of work of music. I think making music, recording music is something that I really, yeah, I see as not an important part of like what I want to leave behind or anything like grandiose like that. But I think just, at a certain point or at many points in your life, like being able to look at what you've done and be like, that's cool. I'm glad I executed on that. Like, I hate, I really dislike when people record records and then just shelf them. Like, I know that there's a lot of like perfectionism in the game, but a lot of it is like, it's a shame, man. It's like, that it's not a good record until you put it out. It's not a bad record until you put it out. And I think it's so important to have that, like, in as an artist, to look back and like see what you've done, those timestamps in your life. So I think for me, it's like, I want to have a good record of my path as a songwriter, and a body of work that I'm proud of. Like, that's kind of the main driver, plus, as I said, like it's a compulsion. Like I can't. It's a train I can't stop at this point.
It's a habit, and I'm just gonna try to make it into something good.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. You're just trying to form your weird habits into like things that society doesn't shun. You know, I think that's just kind of life.
I mean, that's what everybody's doing all the fucking time. Yeah. That's awesome, man. And I do appreciate you coming on. It's been an absolute blast. But I like to wrap this up with some promo. So everyone can stream Triptides wherever you stream music. I mean, and along with Cosmo Gold, that's everywhere as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, our first EP is out all over the place.
Awesome. And Little Rituals is on Spotify.
Yeah, it's everywhere as well.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
I didn't want to misquote that. I mean, I know it's exclusive shit on the, but I don't know if you want to plug that anymore since you're not in.
Yeah, we're not on great terms. Lit Rit and we're not on great terms. But yeah, man, all of it can be found everywhere.
You're everywhere all the time.
Everywhere, all the time. Copenhagen, LA, all the places.
Everywhere.
New Triptides is coming out early April, hopefully. So.
All right, good deal. And the show, when does the tour begin? February?
It's end of January. So I think LA Witch starts like tomorrow on the first part of their tour, and then we meet up with them on the 24th or 25th of January, and then we're with them from the 24th until February 5th.
And is it just like a West Coast tour?
Yeah, West Coast. We start out in Santa Ana and then like wiggle our way up through San Francisco. We go all the way to Vancouver, actually. And
awesome. I mean, West Coast tour. That's
all the way up, which is I mean, Portland, Seattle, I love playing those spots, man. It's really, really cool. So
that Pacific Northwest, that's where you're gonna be,
man. Especially this time of year, it's gonna be nice and vibey,
a little bit brisk, very nice. Yeah. But if you're in the area, go look for tickets. Just Google it. I mean, it's probably is there? Do you know where the best place to go check it out? On Instagram, I guess.
Yeah, I would say like go to LA Witch's Instagram. I think you can get tickets to all the venues there. Otherwise, just check out the dates there and hit up the local venue for tickets.
Sweet. That's awesome. Definitely go check it out if you have the opportunity, because that's gonna be a killer fucking shows. I mean, it's just, don't want to miss that one. Anyways,
got a lot of new tunes too, man. It's gonna be fun.
I mean, you heard it here. Thank you so much for coming on, dude. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else we were missing? Jacob. Any merch or anything we gotta plug?
If you check out Curation Records, you can get as much Triptides merch as you possibly want.
We need to please those record labels. All right, that's it. Thank you so much, dude. All right, I'm gonna talk to you in a minute. I'm gonna stop recording this. Thank you again, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you, man.